Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to our Friday morning trading session. One moment here as I get you my monitor. The market's just opened up. And there is a little bit of an opening gap this morning. Here, this is on the NQ, of course, the NASDAQ. And just a reminder, I know I mention it from time to time, but I'll look at any market that's of interest to you. The NASDAQ just happens to be one of those markets that I like to follow. Let's take a look here on the Raptor, and we can see on the overnight, the market ran up a little bit. So they closed off here, a little bit of a rally in the overnight, a little bit of a retracement, and now we're opening up here. So we've got a little bit of an opening gap right down here. It'll be interesting to see whether the market tries to get into that gap, especially given that the overnight traded down here as well. At the moment, it almost looks that way. And here on our Raptor, we're actually setting up a little itty-bitty test of the extreme. We may get a soft edge sell here, and maybe that will be enough to push the market back somewhere here near the hard edge. Like I said, it's still early. The market just opened. I'm going to give them a few minutes to sort themselves out. Okay. Just taking a look at gold and crude. Also, gold also very sideways. Here's gold on the Eagle. And, well, I suppose they're kind of down today. Market opened right around here, gave us a little retest, the sell signal. This would have been difficult to take on the Eagle at least. We did get a comparable signal on the Hawk and the Falcon. Again, that's why we have three tools, right? Because sometimes we'll get these moves and they won't always fire on one of our charts. But gold heading back lower after yesterday's rally. A little bit of a retrace here into the hard edge. Here's our with trend signal. It's unfortunate that didn't have more follow through though. That's a little bit concerning. Not overly concerning. So long as the highs hold, we'll be all right. But you see, here's this whole test-retest scenario. So the market comes down, breaks on testing of the support. Now it came back and retested. Seems to be holding. And now we're looking for gold to once again resume the downtrend. So I'll put gold away. And crude oil, not much going on in crude oil at the moment. Here's crude on the Falcon. You can see the overnight came down somewhat. We're still hovering in this whole $41, $42 a barrel range. Crude prices looking to be very happy with that. Well, happy might be the wrong word, maybe content. The sellers keep pouring it on here on our Geiger counter. Still watching the Raptor here for that hard edge, or pardon me, soft edge sell. I might get ready for that. The other tools still bullish. The only thing that's enticing me to do this is the opening gap. The NQ, like I said, every time I try to do a serious short position on the NQ, I get clobbered. Good morning, Jim. Jim's giving us some advanced decline numbers here. 1975 on the buy, 650 on the sell, but a lot of that will be skewed because of this opening gap. So a very positive advanced decline number to the tune of about a positive 1300, which would tend to be very bullish just on the surface. All right. Ho hum. There's not much we can do right now. Just try to be patient. I'm going to snoop around a couple other markets. Oh, option expiration today. Thanks, Jim. That explains it. So we're going to have a lot of contracts starting to roll, a lot of, well, options liquidating. Macro pullback signal here, and are they really going to rally off of that? Well, the Geiger counter is hard over. That selling that we saw seems to have been absorbed by the buyers. For the moment anyway. So a little bit of sideways congestion, but it is still early. What is it? We're only about 10 minutes into the session. All right. Okay, so here comes the Raptor again. And we're getting another macro pullback signal building here on the Hawk. As you know, we tend to only see two macro pullbacks within a trend, so it's still so early. I don't want to get too excited on this one. The bulls have the market, but there's a little bit of a struggle here. I know Jim is writing, he says, I wonder if it's going to be a gap and go day. Those are what he's referring to are like the explosive gaps that you see the market open and never tries to recover. But usually, of course, there are no absolutes in trading, but usually the market will pick up and go out of the gate, right off of that gap, never look back. I suppose the only way to make it go lower is to buy it. A little inside joke there. right, so here's that macro pullback. The first, actually 3 macro pullbacks now. That's really starting to make me a little bit suspicious of the trend. Of course, it's not to say it won't go higher. It's just that typically we'll see 2 macro pullbacks within a trend. Then the market will start to turn over a little bit, perhaps give us a red bar buy, one more push higher, and then a failure. That's usually how it goes. I will try the Raptor soft edge sell if we get the signal. And maybe what I should do is we'll do a runner on it, and I'll just take a single. And we'll cover above the swing high. There, we're all set. We're all set. Now we just need the market to cooperate. So it's actually supposed to be a pretty nice weekend here this weekend. Might get a chance to go out golfing yet. A friend of mine was out the other day. He says, we've had a little bit of rain, as you can imagine, here in the Pacific Northwest. This time of the year, rain is not uncommon. But nothing but sunshine the last few days, and it's supposed to be that way right through the weekend. Temperatures are a little bit cooler. Nothing for us Canucks, though. Oh, it's whatever you're used to, I guess. When I'm down in Mexico, the Mexicans are laughing at me because the heat, it's like 100 degrees. They're running around in long sleeve shirts and blue jeans. But then when the temperature dips a little bit, they're all wearing parkas and mittens. And I'm still wearing shorts. Yeah, it's not that cold here, but we'll let everybody believe it is. Although I have to say, the town I grew up in central Alberta, right in the heart of the oil patch, not only is its claim to fame that it was the first place in Alberta to strike oil way back in the 1940s, but on more than one occasion, it's been the coldest place on the planet. Even colder than Antarctica. Wow. Tony says gas prices in Kansas City are down to $1.98.9, just under $2 a gallon. Here they just dropped to $1.13.9 a liter, which, hold on a second, I'll give you the US gallon. $1.13.9, $4.30 a gallon. Yes, and we produce this stuff. Go figure. All right, put this back on the shelf. It's not coming about the way I'm anticipating, at least not yet, so there's still that whole tug-of-war seesaw thing going on. Mark says it's been $1.97 a gallon in Wisconsin. Well, I'll have to go buy some gas there. Oh yes, that 430, thanks Frank, that 430 price I quoted you, that is in Canadian dollars, of course, and right now the Canadian dollar sucks wind, so that would be roughly 320, 3.25 US. Still a lot. Oh, I got the weather forecast from Brian in central Canada. He says it's snowing already. Actually, they said we might see the S word next week here. Get a little dusting, just keep us humble. They call Vancouver Island the banana belt of Canada because our winters tend to be very mild. All right, we're into the primary resistance line. That was quite the range, wasn't it? Look at what kind of range we have on the support and resistance suite today. It's expecting bigger ranges, or maybe that the market's just going to drift before it finally finds a resistance area. Tony says, what's happening in Moose Jaw? Are they going to change the phone prefix? No, not that I've heard. And things will be getting a little cool in Saskatchewan by now, too. Right across the prairies, things should be getting a little nippy. All right, so here comes gold. And we've got, we have our other soft edge sell. This signal right here is the one which is in sync, right? Because we wait for our ATR bar to roll over. The choice is yours where you would like to enter here. There's certainly nothing wrong with offering up another couple ticks, entering below the low, trying to cover above the high, or of course, you can try to get in a little bit earlier. We're not giving up that much here to try to get a little bit later entry, so maybe I'll opt for that. We'll put that back for now. Oh, see, I look away for a moment and crude oil completes the trend change signal. So we have the up, the down, the up. There's the trend change. Actually had an early trend change that worked out pretty good. But here's the trend change and a nice little rally back to the median line. Could I cover it down here? Oh, I could too. So, nice little uptick on crude oil. Oh, yeah, sorry, Brian. I didn't see your other question. Brian's asking, how useful is the Geiger counter? Well, I'm starting to watch it more and more, I have to say. First off, the Geiger counter I find it useful for those times when the market is really quiet, like I mean really quiet. Occasionally, I don't know about your signal, but every once in a while my signal will drop. And I wonder, is the market still trading? Well, simply looking at the Geiger counter, I can see whether the orders are still flowing. That aside, it can be a very helpful tool, especially when you get near a support or resistance area. I don't know where I was what I was doing that I didn't see this signal develop. But at any rate, what you want to see is, you see how the dial turns hard over? If it goes, I can guarantee you right here, the market went hard over and stayed just like that. I know that because here on the histogram, we have this spike in buying, and you can see the sellers were not able to match it. That's why the market ended up going higher. So when you're near a support or resistance area, you're producing a signal, you're wondering how much strength is on with that signal. Well, if the dial goes hard over to the buy side and stays there, and I'm not talking like stays there for a second or even 2 seconds, but if it stays there for like 3 or 4 seconds, you know there's some very serious buying going on. They're gobbling up all the buy orders. They can't even hit the ask, and they're just chewing right through the orders. And there's your result, is that the market will tend to make a little bit of a rally. Now, the Geiger counter is also useful in the same way for trying to gauge whether you should be, or how long you should be in a trade. So for instance, let's say we went long right here. We picked up this little bit of a rally. How do we want to manage our stops? Well, right now it looks like the buyers are still holding their own. Yes, the sellers are coming back. They're applying some pressure. But for the most part, we still see this dial swinging over here to the hard side and holding. Okay, it's not holding as long anymore. So if the dial starts swinging here now to the sell side and holds, then that will be a pretty clear indication that we're going to see at least a short-term move lower. So maybe I'll pop out with my profit, or at the very least run a very tight stop, maybe even below the low of this current bar. So it has been a very helpful tool. And actually, while I think of it, let me get Adam's email here, because there is a special. He's running a Thanksgiving special for a few days here. Just a moment. Where did I put it? Here we are. Okay. We're running a... Oh, Jim needs to see the YM. Hold on a second here. Okay, while we're letting that unwind, there's the YM. There's a 30% discount for this week. So here's the discount code. Yeah, Frank says, I think a special includes a free turkey. So I'll send everybody the discount code. I just put that in your window. If you have any questions about it, you can email Adam as well, and I'll give you his email. Okay, Jim's asking, is the cloud really 51 ticks? So we're 177.82 to 178.32. Yeah, so about 50 ticks. And I don't think I've ever seen Adam run that deep of a discount. So if you've been thinking about maybe picking up something like the Geiger counter, that's probably going to be the best deal. Yeah, do they take Canadian money at par? Yeah, I know. I hear you, Brian. We're getting clobbered. We're actually planning a vacation down in Mexico in December for a few weeks, and I'm watching the exchange closely, trying to optimize my conversion. but I'm going to pay for the privilege. All right, so the YM getting a little bit weaker. And that may have been a bit of a blowout for the buyers on the NQ. Still would like to see that test to the extreme before I jump in with both feet. Okay, yellow bars back here on the hawk as we test the trend line once more. You can see the Geiger counter was leaning there a little bit to the buy side, so that should give us our test of the extreme. After which, if we come back with another sell signal, I would expect the dial to be hard over here to the sell side, and perhaps a sell signal generating. Yet another macro pullback. It was spoiled by the yellow bar, but the fact that we're starting to retrace so deeply is significant. Okay, you see, we'll follow the Geiger counter here because Brian was asking about it. So we're watching the sales go back and forth, buyers and sellers each taking their turn. And what will happen is when they start to get toppy, they're going to waffle a little bit more. And then one side will take control away from the other. Okay, so here's an example. We're producing a buy signal. We're near the highs. I can watch the Geiger counter to see, is there going to be some buying momentum associated with it? Or are the sellers going to crank the dial hard over here and hold it and cause prices to actually head lower? There's always that slight reaction, that slight delay between the two. Okay, well, we're waiting for that. Frank is asking, is there a first micro-macro cross on crude oil? Let's take a look. Yes, Frank, right here, first micro-macro cross signal. Now we're also getting a macro pullback signal, so crude oil looking a little bit stronger, perhaps going to try to recover the highs here. So the first micro macro cross, one of these situations where you don't want to cover the trade overly tight. Why? Well, because if you did, you would have been stopped on the short-term reversal. And look at that, you would have been stopped by only a few ticks. So even here from the macro pullback, you have to try to give it some staying power. When in doubt, look at your macro line. Look at where the macro line crests, and that's as good a place as any to put your stop, at least for starters. Oh, sure. Brian's asking, can I throw the Geiger counter on the ES Falcon? 1 second, I got to load up the E-mini, and I will certainly do that for you. All right, so here's the E-mini, and we'll put the Geiger counter up. When you first load your Geiger counter, it's going to be behind everything. Well, I won't show you how to fix that right now because Brian's shorting the E-mini at 93 1/4. Well done, Brian. Okay, so the buyer's pouring it on a little bit here. See if we can get the sellers to come back and hold it over. The buyer's still pulling hard. There we go. You see how it's starting to get a little bit more whippy? That tends to happen when it starts to top or bottom. Oh, it keeps pulling over to the buy side though. That's not good. Flush out the last of those buyers. And then maybe we'll see it turn hard over. Okay, a little bit more activity on the sell side now. Now, because you're getting you shorted early and it looks as though we're getting a trend change signal here, remember there's always a little bit of a reaction when the market starts to do that trend change, even down here. Right, there's the trend change, there's the reaction, and this is now our trend change signal. So hopefully it will head a little bit lower, and then it's going to try to fight it up a little bit, and then it will start to decline. Probably at least here to the primary, and who knows, maybe even down here to the secondary. So there is a big selling spike right here. We only got a little bit of a trickle in prices, so the buyers are actually absorbing some of that selling pressure. Right now our needle, oh, the needle was red there for a moment. This little envelope around the current bar shows you the immediate short-term bias, so a lot more buying pressure on the market at the moment. Okay, we'll put the E-mini away for now. Okay, here's the Raptor. I said I was going to try to do a soft edge sell, and we're close enough to the entry price that I'll just pop in and we'll simulate that. I'll throw a stop order above the high because that's our little itty bitty test of the extreme. We also had a red bar buy failure here in the Hawk, which we can do the same type of setup for. And this is really just a, let's see if they can get back into that gap type trade. For the most part, they're not doing too much, just kind of wandering today. Mike is asking, I have Trade Manager. It's my understanding if I want to enter one contract runner with a one-click entry and say an initial stop of 10 ticks, then trail it, it can't be done on the Trade Manager. You need the Trailblazer. Is that correct? Well, let's give that a try. So let's cancel this. And we're going to set up a 10 tick stop above the high. All right, so I want to make sure my stop is enabled. And now if I, a runner, so I don't want, sorry, got to do it like this. Okay, so I've got a runner in play, one contract, that's this amount up here. Now if I hit my sell market button, yeah, why isn't it giving me a stop? I thought it would still give me a stop. Okay, hold on, we're gonna increase this a little bit here so I can play with it. If I put a stop up here, let's see if it picks it up. No, I think you're right, Mike. You can enter. I always thought the Trade Manager always picked up my stop once I entered it, though. But it doesn't seem to be doing that. You may just want to double check and email Ben at support@indicatorwarehouse.com. I suppose the other thing you could do is you have your stop strategy in place. So let's say you want to go 10 ticks off of the high. You change your order to market. Will that work now? Yes, that'll work. Okay, there you go. That's the part I was missing. You need to change your order type to market, and then it will pick up your stop. I knew there was a way to do it. All right, so once again, change your order style to market. That will enable your buy and sell market buttons. Your quantity will default to this amount right here. You can also set your slippage. Well, no, let's not get into that. You'll want to turn your targets to 0, and that will mean that you're all in with a runner. Well, I'm glad you asked that, because I knew there was a way to do it. I just couldn't remember what it was. Okay, taking some serious heat now on the Raptor trade as prices go to test the highs. There we go. I want to keep my stop above this swing high. That's the granddaddy. That's the one that says, yeah, Eric, you really tanked on this one. We should see the sellers try to defend one of these highs. If not, well, you can be reasonably certain the market's going to reverse. Oh. And there you go. So once again, the joys of trying to short the stock market. Crazy strong. It's just, such a quiet day today, too. There's no real follow through here one way or the other. Now that they broke the highs, they may well try to get back into the sideways trading range. It's just one of those days. Mike is asking, can it be done in Trailblazer? Yes, Trailblazer is set up to be a one-click entry. So let's say we wanted to buy, and we have our 10-tick stop below the low. Now, if your stop ever displays on the wrong side, you need to put a minus sign in front. What's happening is the programmer had to use a moving average of sorts to determine what side of the market the stop would display on. So if it's ever displaying on the wrong side, just throw a little minus sign in front. I'm going to give myself a little bit more room here so I can demonstrate. The trade manager does not have profit targets. You can set a break even, but simply all you do is you hit your buy market button. Oops, got to make sure your stop is enabled, and there you go. So you get your order. I happen to have a break-even trigger in play, which I can change now that the order is active, or I can negate it entirely. And I've also got my trailing stop, which again is adjustable. Let's say you feel it's too tight and you want to wind it back a little bit, you can do that too. All right, so once the trade is live, you can do pretty much anything you want with it. And the Trailblazer, yeah, that's the big feature of the Trailblazer, is that it's just a one-click entry system where you just click the one button and So long as your stops are enabled, you'll get everything. You'll get your stop, your profit, or sorry, not your profit target. I can preset a profit target. So let's say I want 20 ticks, and I'm going to have a runner, one contract, 20 ticks, one contract as a runner, and I hit my buy market button. There you can see I've got my target, I've got a break even trigger, I've got my stop. So it's a pretty cool system. The only downside for the Trailblazer is that you need to roughly know what your risk exposure should be so that you don't end up overextending yourself. In other words, you don't want to be risking more than you can afford to lose if you happen to be wrong. Wow, it's painful today, folks. There's just nothing going on. And there's nothing you can do about that. We just have to ride it out. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, well, just watching and waiting. Okay, they're just kind of testing the lower end again. If we come back with another red bar buy, oh, it's into yellow bars here on the hawk. We might not get a decent signal this morning. Even gold and, well, gold put in a little bit of a rally. Crude oil kind of wedging up again. Yeah, I don't think, I may have to throw a different market up here instead of crude. Crude very, very quiet for the last, well, few months, really. We get some moves, but nothing substantial. Not like the good old days. Well, actually, Thursday was a half decent session in crude. But we're getting a lot of these sideways swings. It just makes for very difficult trading. Well, I hope I answered your question, Mike. Mike says he understands about the money management, but he was looking for the one-click feature with the 10-tick stop on the DAX. You just don't have time for 2 clicks. Yeah, ain't that the truth? Sometimes it unfolds too fast. Tony is asking, how do I get rid of those vertical bars? They're making me dizzy. Simple, Tony. Go here to your indicators. Find your tool, whether it's your Hawk, your Raptor, Falcon, Eagle. Go to the very bottom. You're going to see this category, background opacity. Yours is probably set at 2. If you turn it to 0 and click apply and OK, it will make it go away. Once you get your chart set up the way you want, be sure to save it as a template, because it will save you a lot of time next time you build a chart. It won't always go back to the default template that comes with the software and make you reset everything. Well, We're coming up now to the bottom of the hour. Maybe that will be enough to loosen things up here. Otherwise, I am seriously considering calling it a day. Well, you guys, all right, I said we'd stay with it for we'll do another 10 minutes. If nothing starts to shake up here, I have a feeling they're just going to keep going sideways. The afternoon, the market close might see the gap finally fill, but there's a lot of support on the market here. Every time it tries to dip lower, it goes higher. But every time it tries to go higher, it gets squashed again. Oh, crude still flip-flopping. Pardon me, nothing we can really do with it though. Gold starting to head lower again. Yeah, I think we're just going to see them waffle all day. The sessions are getting really quiet here toward the weekend. All right, you guys, I think that's it for me. I'm going to call it a day. If you are going to trade the rest of the session, that opening gap still seems to be beckoning. You may have to check on it closer toward the end of the day, however, or maybe even after lunch. The morning session just seems to be flat. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend. I will see you guys on Monday morning. We'll talk to you then. Bye for now.